I'm Dr. Peter Howie, and I started studying with Artemisia and the deVinery method some years ago, I think towards the beginning of COVID. And I was experimenting to see what on earth she was on about and how it fits with what I know of the human psyche and a whole range of other things. And she hooked me because some of the ways she works fit very well with my background, which is psychodrama and group psychotherapy. And psychodrama definitely works with the imagination and how you can produce the imagination in the real world. So I found that very stimulating. And over the last few years, I've been refining how to apply it in my own life and beginning to really work with how to apply it in the lives of those who are prepared to work with their imagination and their desires and their fantasies. And my current role in the world of sex is I call myself an adult sex educator, which covers a lot of things and doesn't make everyone drop their glasses if we're in a cocktail party. And an adult sex educator is someone who, well, my tagline is what they didn't teach you at school and you can't learn from porn. And then the follow up to that is, which is just about everything that's important. So I've studied sexological bodywork 5 or 6 years ago. I've studied Corellis Urban Tantra. I've done Betty Martin's Wheel of Consent workshops, and probably a whole lot of things that I've forgotten about. And unfortunately, continue to read the latest books that come out, and some of them are actually quite novel, and many of them are very repetitious of what's already been written about. The difference with the deVinery method is, first up, fantasies aren't treated as something that need to be cured, but actually the process by which they arise, which they're listened to and used to inform current practice. It's kind of like applying a strategic mindfulness process to the fantasies that arise both before, during, and after any erotic play. My personal sex life, it's had a terrific impact. I frame what I'm doing with individuals in a totally different way, and I frame what I'm doing with people I'm working with in a different way. In my own practice, and I know this from working with many clients, and even it's written about, where people get disturbed by where their imagination goes while they're having sex. They either think they need to have a fantasy that they're role playing out, or they need to sort of bat away all the ideas and become totally focused on the person in front of them. But if it's not a natural thing and they haven't learned how to do it, it just means a person's fighting themselves quite a lot of the time. The deVinery method gave me a really good starting point for assessing the fantasies as they arise and not taking them literally, but really working out what is this kind of fantasy promoting me to have? What's the experience this fantasy wants me to have? So there's a great, let's call it a conceit or process of treating the fantasies as they arise like a living creature within me, like my deeper self communicating with me, which works perfectly well as an idea. The deVinery method has helped me with my clients because, first up, I've begun to see that fantasies are a communicative device. They're communicating something I'm missing or might want. They're not necessarily something I have to immediately go out and have or do. And many clients in this wonderful new age we live in, if they're not doing exactly what they want to do, then they're being held back and restricted and they're not free. But actually, it's not necessarily the case. And the fantasies need to be thought through, valued, as well as evaluated. Either I've started to learn to do this for myself as part of the deVinery method, and working them through with other clients about what it is they want from what they're after. Not just they want the thing, but what is that thing going to give them? And is that the only way to have it? And there's many ways to have the same feeling that they're after. So first up, accepting people and their fantasies, getting people to articulate their fantasies, be easier with hearing and noticing and seeing and being a part of their own fantasies, realizing they are only fantasies, they are only a communication, they don't have to do them, is very helpful for some of my clients because they want to make sense of why they are the way they are. And instead of doing that, I say, well, let's make use of these things. Let's really get to know them properly rather than pushing them away as though they shouldn't have them. That may sound very easy, but I remember with an early session that I had with Artemisia, where she had me look at porn that was attractive and porn that wasn't attractive, and work out what was attractive about some porn and not others, and what were the specifics about that, and getting familiar with myself about what it is I'm looking for in this moment. It may all change tomorrow, or maybe it's an afternoon thing, but getting with the specifics. And that particularly reminds me of when I ask clients about their sex life and they go, oh, we go into the bedroom and do those things. And I say, no, tell me what you do. And they go, well, we go in and I say, do you do it clothed or unclothed? And they go, well, without clothes, of course. And then I say, do you take your own clothes off or each other's clothes off? Do you take all your clothes off? Do you take your socks off? Anyway, most people haven't discussed their sex life, let alone their fantasies in any detail at all. They certainly haven't settled in with thinking, using their cognitive processes to take the imagination out of the imaginarium and putting it into something that they can cognitively think through. And that's an essential part of the deVinery method, which is valuing what comes up, but not being dominated by it. Letting it inform something and looking through the fantasies and think, well, what is it that you're after when you have a sense of wanting to be tied up or fucked in a particular way, or being sensually treated, or being teased in a particular way? What does that give you? And it probably boils down to not that many things, of which we're all profoundly affected, such as feeling valued, feeling loved, feeling excited, feeling engaged, feeling connected, feeling part of the universe, those various trance states that have different colors. And that's quite an amazing piece of work. And I know a lot of my colleagues and friends try and develop trance states through more traditional means, but like yoga and Sufi dancing and various other odds and sods and therapy all over the place. But most people don't think about therapy as a way to enter trance states. But I think it's pretty important. I mean, psychodrama certainly creates trance states all the time. So this is why the method fits quite well with me. Sexual fantasies can certainly create trance states where the ego kind of takes a bit of a back seat. The benefit of being able to enter trance states with what I think of as relative ease is quite a profound thing in this day and age. Now, trance state is just something where our feelings become expansive. Feelings that we value become expansive, because some people have different feelings and they don't want them to expand. But you're expanding certain feeling states, and the doubts and worries of the ego fall to the background. They become definitely part of the background and not part of the foreground and the controlling process. So fears reduce, sense of isolation reduce, acceptance increases, sense of communality with the universe increases. Well, what is it like? Well, I'm like many other people, just think of analogous situations. I think it's roughly similar to when I start skiing down a hill in Niseko, Japan, especially one where there's a metre and a half of snow on the ground, and I'm going through it. It's similar to getting up on a surfboard on a wave. There's a whole lot of things that happen to be in that moment. And in that moment, well, first up, there's appreciation that I put in the effort to do it. And And then there is a greater and greater sense of relaxing into that feeling into that moment, and that moment being enough. So the sense of having enough, and oddly enough expanding. And I do actually believe that our capacity for all these things can increase and does increase. What would I say to past Peter? I would say about 15 years ago, I would have said, definitely go in this direction right now and save yourself a hell of a lot of the effort of the next 10 years. If I was to say to myself 30 years ago, I might have said, if you take this direction, you won't look back. Application of the deVinery method and the capacity to access and develop deep, powerful, potent, alive, erotic states